Thank you, David Duff. Here we are back with a professor, an associate professor of international law from the University of Amsterdam, and Jim Mathis. Hi.
Hi. Hi, Greg.
We know some people don't know you very well as I do. Well, we know, actually, before we ask any questions, I'm going to get into the 60 seconds for all 6 questions. The first thing off the top of your head is exactly the right answer.
If I have something on the top of my head.
Exactly. Right? We'll see. Okay. 60 seconds begins. Where are you from?
Peoria, Illinois.
Exactly.
The
I'm
center
from
of the known universe.
And where do you go to when you want the perfect vacation?
Siesta Key, Sarasota, Florida.
Really? Back in the U.S. Okay.
Sandy Cove.
Do you have any pets?
I have a cat and 2 birds.
Thank you. Oh, there's tension in the house. Boxers or briefs?
Did Clinton answer that one?
I think he did.
Boxers.
Boxers, fine. And you have a background in law. Do you have a favorite courtroom drama?
I'm old school. It has to be Perry Mason.
Perry Mason. Okay. And do you own a car?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of car?
I own a 1972 Volkswagen camper bus.
Wow. The classic hippie
yeah
hangout.
And it's the color Oranje.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you bought it over here in the Netherlands?
I bought it over here in the Netherlands.
Very nice. How long have you been in the Netherlands now?
I've been here since 1990.
Okay, okay. And then, in fact, we were talking earlier about the 90s being a time when some of these huge trade negotiations really started. Now, if you do a search for TTIP right now online, TTIP, Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, you feel like the world is about to collapse. Aren't all trade agreements just another nail in the coffin of workers' rights and consumer protections?
They certainly don't have to be. And it depends upon the balance of power between the parties that are negotiating it, the territories negotiating it. There are trade agreements where a very powerful country negotiates with a very weak country, and the agreements are not balanced.
Now that we are talking about the general TTIP and people are paying attention to it, is that a good thing, or is it easier to get things done behind closed doors? We're gonna check this out with a quick video and figure out what other people are saying about this issue right now.
Okay.
The Greens' opposition to TTIP is based on our experience. We've had a big battle in the European Parliament in the past to protect health, social services from being treated like any other service.
Partout en Europe, partout aux États-Unis, les consommateurs, les syndicats, des entreprises, toutes les organisations de la société civile, les régions, les mairies s'opposent à la perte de souveraineté.
We're really concerned when we see the state investor dispute settlement being part of this treaty.
Cette capacité des entreprises à attaquer les États lorsque notre protection de l'environnement, notre protection de la santé des salariés, des consommateurs remet en cause leurs bénéfices.
We don't want to see that work of democracy undermined by secret, unelected, unaccountable individuals.
TTIP, c'est toujours aussi opaque, c'est toujours l'incapacité des citoyens à savoir ce qui se passe dans ces négociations et c'est un piège extraordinaire contre la démocratie, contre nos choix de société.
Major protests, the Greens are out marching. There's more rallying and unification. It's bigger than maybe a World Trade Organization, a WTO protest. Why now? Why are these protests happening now?
One of the reasons why these agreements are more controversial than they used to be is that they come in closer to people's domestic rules, huh?
Right.
It's not just about the tariff taxes that are charged at the border.
No.
They come in and they can approach domestic law, environmental protection laws, consumer protection laws, the way we regulate our healthcare systems, the way we regulate our water supply systems.
Obviously, there should be benefits for the consumers, and yet now we're more focused on what rights are we giving up?
Yeah, this one is gets a lot of attention. On the European side, it's interesting because Europe has strong environmental protection laws. We have strong food safety laws.
Yeah.
We actually, European Union has high standard rules.
Right.
And my own feeling is that European law can't be changed by a trade agreement.
Workers' rights and consumer protections, you think they'll still be there?
I think they're fine. ISDS itself, that means investor state dispute settlement.
Right.
Investor state. In other words, the investor can sue the state. These aren't new. In Europe, Germany has more investor state treaties in their investment treaties than any other country on earth. My hope for this agreement is, if they get this agreement,
Yeah.
that they're going to make they make a balanced dispute settlement clause. That means one where an arbitral body has got to look both at the societal value of the law, the chain that's being challenged, and what there is the value in that, and what is the real legitimate objective the government has of changing a law.
Okay.
As compared to whether the investor has been ripped off, expropriated,
Well,
or
so it sounds
treated
like-
unfairly.
Yeah, but that's what we have already, basically. I mean, so
Basically,
you're saying
yeah,
it wouldn't
yeah,
change that
yeah.
much. Isn't there something shady going on with, like, do we need to give more powers to the multinationals?
Arguably not, but we're developed economies. If you talk to Dutch economists and people who understand economic policy in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
they'll tell you that the future of the Netherlands is not in the old traditional manufacturing base and agriculture bases that have long been protected.
Right.
This is a service economy.
Yeah. With environmentalists who are concerned that we're giving out, we're giving away these environmental laws. We've also got a company or a country like China who is flooding the markets with these cheap solar panels and making it impossible for clean energy to get off the ground in the West. Is that an example of the kind of the differences in regulation that are holding industry back, even if it's private, even if it's multinationals?
We don't need a trade agreement to operate commercial defense if producers undercut their own price structure.
So again,
and dump products in our market.
So we
don't
already
need that.
have these laws.
But you bring up a point that that does flow from this. There is an aspect of what the U.S. and the EU, I think, are up to. Part of the motivation, they've expressed it this way, is that the U.S. and the EU are leaders in the global trading system. And there's an idea that they set the rules. And to the extent that they can find the new patterns of how international economy works and how the new rules in the future can work, we can make the pattern that will flow through the rest of the international economy. In other words, maybe China will also play by those rules.
Well, obviously, people are worried that there might be a bad precedent being set right now. And in fact, that just gets back to the basic question of the protests as well. By necessity, these negotiations are happening behind closed doors, maybe less than ever before. Is that good or bad for the precedent?
It's the fact that negotiations occur in secret completely, from one perspective, completely delegitimizes these agreements.
Yeah.
This is secret, so therefore it cannot be positive. They must be giving something away that belongs to society because they're in secret.
Yeah.
But they are in secret.
I mean,
All negotiations are in secret. The political negotiations, security negotiations, the negotiations going on with Iran now over the nuclear program, they're not doing those in public.
No.
All right? Yeah. Negotiators don't work in public. But what we're trying to learn how to do in Europe, and I think that this agreement is actually a good example of it, is the Commission saying we want to collect everybody who has anything to say about this. We want to collect their opinions about this ISDS or about the services sectors or about this. And then we are going to give you a framework. Here's how we are going to approach these negotiations, and here's what we want.
Yeah.
And here's what we're not going to give away. We're not going to change our environmental rules. We're not going to do this. In other words, they're trying to put more transparency at the front end of the process.
Okay.
So people can say, all right, no, the negotiators have to come back on that remit. That's their remit. That's their frame.
Yeah.
now we're going to be a little bit more comfortable about letting them go and not feel that what they're doing is basically going out and selling away the store.
Well, we talked about the parameters as well. I mean, and that gets us to the question of what happens when, if this TTIP does go through and all the EU countries have to ratify it. What if Greece says, we need a negotiating chip? We're not going to ratify this TTIP.
We are in a European Union that has a lot more accountability than it did 25 years ago, and we have an EU Parliament that has the power to ratify trade agreements,
which is relatively new, isn't it?
Yeah, that's new. Yeah. It's new. And it's a very important power.
Yet it seems like you're saying that all of these interests are being represented at the table, and that there is more transparency than we've ever seen before. And it also sounds like there are precedents for, we're talking about the American Trans-Pacific Partnership, which may go through before TTIP. There's a whole EU-Canada thing. So this is already happening. It might not be the worst thing in the world. And yet, if we want to know more about you and finding out your specific positions, where can we find you?
I'm in a research institute at the University of Amsterdam called the Amsterdam Center of International Law.